Walked out of an interview scissor. I went back to school after a few years away and I'm looking for a job near campus that can pay my rent. I decided to apply to be a clerk at a bookstore down the street as it's well established and eccentric enough that it makes a news story every few years. I love books and spent years working in special collections for a different college library, not to mention my retail experience. So I expected to at least be able to showcase why I'd be a good fit. The clerk who gave me the application warned me it had a test attached and I'd need to make extra time. I didn't have anywhere to be, so I stuck around. The packet in total took me close to an hour. After the general application questions were literature questions that honestly made me feel unenlightened. They asked about the regions Eudora Welty wrote about, Button Gwinnett's occupation, Bible verses, what Alfred Stieglitz did, even though his name was misspelled on the test. I don't like the Stones, so I didn't recognize one of their lyrics. But I'm expecting less sympathy for that, lol. Surely they were all famous names. But the majority were titles and authors I just hadn't encountered yet. I like Audre Lorde over Sir Walter Scott. What can I say? The clerk got the manager after I was finished. But I didn't realize she was the manager at first because she came out without greeting me or looking me in the eye. The first thing she did was to glance at my application and say, "Oh, you're at X school? We don't usually hire students because we have day shifts. What days are you available?" Quote, at this point I was pretty irritated. Why wouldn't a bookstore hire students from next door? And she was clearly more interested in my application than talking to me. So I was smart and said I'm available for most of them, and that my availability was listed in my application. The manager looked me in the eye for the first time and said, "Well, I'm asking you." At this point I politely asked for my bag from behind the counter and said I was leaving. The manager apologized for being tired. At 3 p.m., I said it's not her fault and she said, "I know." Quote, I was thrilled to walk out of that place. Surely people have worse stories than mine. But the moral here is to please know your worth and not to swallow garbage for minimum wage retail. Why do you want to work here? Quote, well, I'm a student, and I have an interest in learning more about literature. I like learning from people who are interested in literature. And I want to be exposed to as many books and book-knowledgeable people as possible. Sorry, we're only hiring people who already know everything and have no incentive to earn money. Also, apply this logic to 90% of demands for experience for entry-level jobs. A literature test for a part-time, minimum wage job in a bookshop? They are delusional. Not related at all, but this story reminds me of when I went to a garage sale and wanted to buy a little red wagon they had put out. When I said I wanted to buy it, they asked me what I wanted it for. They wouldn't sell the wagon to someone who was going to mistreat it. This whole adult family of 5 sitting in a parking lot looking me up and down. I guess wanting it for gardening was good enough reason. But then I offered them money and they just said they didn't have any change, number 5s or singles at all. And just stared at me like I was an idiot until I said, "Okay then, good luck with your sale," and walked away. It was surreal. I felt like I walked into a sting operation but just didn't happen to be the target. A test for applying for a job? Fuck that so much. Also, they sound like pretentious assholes. Not knowing a certain Dusty, sorry, author or some random song lyrics doesn't make an applicant stupid or ignorant. These people suck. Well, as for being tired at 3, I work 73, so yeah, if it was the end of their shift, I get it, lol. But that test? Good lord. Are they seeking someone with a master's degree in literature to apply? Most bookstores I know of would be thrilled if someone knew a few of American classic books and maybe some Shakespeare. If you have any clue the difference between historical fiction and historical drama, they hire you on the spot. You dodged a bullet for sure. You are my hero. Screw these sanctimonious, insufferable a-holes. Any power plays or rude behavior should be the signal that screams yo shouldn't work for that business. Good for you for walking out. I worked at a bookstore for a little bit, and in the interview the manager asked me questions about books that weren't knowledge, trivia questions. They were questions like, who is your favorite author? What is your favorite genre? What's the most recent book you read? Quote, these were clearly to ensure that the people hired on actually enjoyed books, but no requirements about what kind. Based on my coworkers who all had varied tastes and backgrounds. Your story reminded me of an application I received once from a company called Canonical. They own and maintain Ubuntu, which is probably the most popular version of Linux you will come across. It included a 20-page questionnaire asking how comfortable you are with pretty much every aspect of technology they could think of, no matter how far removed it is from the position being applied for. And then went on to ask a bunch of irrelevant personal questions like what high school accomplishment you're most proud of and explain why. Keep in mind this was for a professional level position that assumes you've been working already well beyond college. If someone were to take it seriously, they'd probably have to spend half a day on this with no promise they'd even talk you again. It was insulting to look at. As an English major, former university library staff, front desk nights, not special collections, and a published author, I think I'd have been answering most of those questions. NFC. I read interesting stuff. So this is the store Joe Goldberg works at. Every single minimum wage job I've had where I've been given a test on a piece of paper instead of just being properly trained has been the worst job I've ever worked, and I wouldn't be there longer than a month. These employers must have multiple sticks up their lazy asses. I don't like the Stones, so I didn't recognize one of their lyrics. But I'm expecting less sympathy for that lol. Oh, get off of my cloud. If you don't have any sympathy for music trivia, you should have at least a little sympathy for the devil in this case. Reminds me of the time I applied to half-price books years ago. There was portion of essay questions on the application, and they wanted a full page of writing for the answers. Questions were about why you wanted to work there, opinions on literature, and how you would help customers. I did my best, but didn't get hired. I suppose it's a way to weed out many applicants for a highly desired entry-level position? Sounds like the Strand in NYC? I walked out of an interview once where a manager asked me if I was a sex offender for absolutely no reason. I'm not. I looked at him puzzled, and he stated that he had to ask because sex offenders often look for jobs in the stated industry, pool and spa parts, sales. I ended the interview shortly after his explanation. Even if I was, that doesn't seem appropriate in any setting to outright ask. If they are interested in a candidate, they could pay for a background check and send a rejection letter. Hell, if I was, they could Google search my name and it would probably be right there. Awesome. Good on you, smile. Mom and pop type store or larger, retail. I think you're insufferable and overvalue your worth. I am not saying this to be a troll, but a bookstore wondering if their employees know books is a fit to see if you're part of the culture they are trying to foster. You immediately got irritated and entitled. They dodged the bullet. You did not. You will struggle everywhere you go. They be overworked but don't want the help. Fuck friend their loss.
If you enjoyed this video, Please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.